In the far reaches of the galaxy, a prestigious institution known as the Galactic University of Advanced Species stood as a beacon of knowledge. It was a place where the brightest minds from various alien civilizations gathered to learn, share, and push the boundaries of what was possible. This year, however, marked a significant change in the university's history. A new species had been admitted: humans. The arrival of the humans was met with a mixture of curiosity, skepticism, and, for some, outright disdain. The humans hailed from a planet known as Earth, classified as a death world due to its harsh environment and the resilience required to survive there. For most species in the galaxy, Earth was a place where only the strongest and most adaptable could thrive, and the humans had done so for millennia. Professor Yidrok, a seasoned educator from the Xenian species, was assigned to oversee the integration of humans into the university. He was an imposing figure, with 3 eyes that radiated intelligence and a pair of mandibles that clicked whenever he was deep in thought. Yidrok was known for his strict but fair teaching methods, and he approached the humans with the same rigor he'd applied to all his students. The first human to arrive was named Alex. Standing tall and confident, Alex was the embodiment of the human spirit, determined, curious, and unyielding. The other students, from species far more advanced and seemingly superior in many ways, regarded Alex with a mixture of fascination and trepidation. The first lesson: physical endurance. The first class was a course in physical endurance, designed to test the limits of various species in controlled environments. Professor Yidrok, eager to see how the human would fare, introduced the experiment with a stern expression. "Today, we will be testing your species' physical endurance," Yidrok announced, his mandibles clicking in anticipation. "Each of you will face a series of challenges designed to push your bodies to their limits. We will begin with a simple endurance test, maintaining a heavy load for as long as possible." The alien students, each from species with advanced physical capabilities, were confident. The Lurans, known for their immense strength, and the Tellarans, renowned for their stamina, seemed particularly eager to showcase their abilities. Alex, however, remained calm, observing his classmates with a keen eye. As the test began, each student was handed a weight corresponding to their species' average strength. The Lurans lifted their loads with ease, their muscles rippling under the strain. The Tellarans held their weights steadily, their breathing controlled and even. When it was Alex's turn, the other students watched closely, expecting the human to struggle. To their surprise, Alex lifted the weight with relative ease, balancing it effortlessly on his shoulders. Minutes passed, and while the other students began to show signs of fatigue, Alex remained steady. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his resolve never wavered. "Impressive," Yidrok muttered, his 3 eyes narrowing as he studied the human. "But let us see how you handle the next challenge." The challenge of pain tolerance. The next test was one of pain tolerance, a crucial measure of a species' ability to survive and adapt. The alien students were nervous. They had heard stories of humans' seemingly unnatural ability to withstand pain, but they were about to witness it firsthand. Yidrok explained the test. "You will each be subjected to a controlled electrical shock designed to simulate the pain of a severe injury. The objective is to endure the pain for as long as possible without showing distress." The Tellarans, who prided themselves on their stoic nature, volunteered to go first. They gritted their teeth as the electrical current coursed through their bodies, but after a few seconds, they faltered, their muscles convulsing in pain. The Lurans fared slightly better, their thick hides providing some resistance, but they too eventually succumbed. When it was Alex's turn, the room fell silent. The human stepped forward, calm and composed. The electrodes were attached and the test began. As the current flowed, Alex's face remained impassive, his eyes focused on a distant point as he controlled his breathing. The alien students watched in awe as the seconds turned into minutes, and still, Alex showed no sign of distress. Finally, Yidrok signaled for the test to end. Alex removed the electrodes, his expression unchanged. The other students exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that the human had endured far longer than any of them. The experiment, regeneration and healing. The final challenge of the day was the one Yidrok was most curious about, an experiment to observe the human ability to heal. The alien students had heard rumors about the human's remarkable regenerative capabilities, but they had never seen it in action. Yidrok set up the experiment carefully. Each of you will receive a small incision, and we will observe how your bodies respond. The objective is to compare the healing processes across species. The Xenian student, with their advanced nanite technology, healed almost instantly, the wound closing before their eyes. The Tellarans, with their rapid cellular reproduction, followed suit, their injuries mending quickly. When it was Alex's turn, Yidrok made the incision with a sterilized blade. The wound bled for a moment before the blood began to clot, forming a scab. Over the next few minutes, the aliens watched in fascination as the edges of the wound started to knit together. "Remarkable," Yidrok whispered, his mandibles clicking in astonishment. "The human body repairs itself without the need for external intervention." Alex shrugged modestly. "It's just how we've evolved. Our bodies are designed to survive." The aftermath. A newfound respect. As the day's lessons came to an end, the atmosphere in the classroom had shifted. The alien students, once so confident in their own abilities, now regarded Alex with a mixture of respect and caution. The human had proven that, despite their relatively primitive technology, they possessed qualities that were both impressive and unsettling. Yidrok, ever the professional, concluded the class with a thoughtful expression. "Today, we have learned much about the resilience of the human species. It is clear that there is much more to them than meets the eye. We will continue to explore these differences in the coming weeks." As the students filed out of the classroom, Alex lingered for a moment, catching Yidrok's gaze. There was a mutual understanding between them. This was only the beginning of what promised to be a fascinating journey. With the first day complete, the stage was set for further challenges, deeper insights, and the unraveling of the mysteries surrounding the humans and their place in the galaxy. This was only the first chapter in a story that would test the limits of endurance, survival, and the power of the human spirit, the test of the elements. The second day at the Galactic University of Advanced Species began with a palpable tension in the air. The events of the previous day had left the alien students both intrigued and unsettled by their new human classmate, Alex. While many had entered the course with a sense of superiority, they now found themselves questioning their assumptions about humans and the true extent of their capabilities. Professor Yidrok had spent the night reviewing the data from the previous day's experiments. The human's resilience and regenerative abilities had far exceeded his expectations, and he was eager to see how Alex would handle the next set of challenges. Today's focus would be on environmental endurance, a series of tests designed to simulate the extreme conditions found on various planets across the galaxy. The first environment, extreme heat. The first test took place in a specially designed chamber capable of simulating the intense heat of desert planets like Drake's. The temperature would gradually increase, testing each species' ability to withstand the heat without succumbing to the effects of hypothermia. The Lurans, with their thick, heat-resistant skin, were confident as they entered the chamber. Their species had evolved on a planet with a harsh climate, and they were well equipped to handle extreme temperatures. The Tellarans, while less confident, relied on their advanced cooling mechanisms, tiny pores that secreted a cooling fluid when the temperature rose. As the heat in the chamber began to rise, the Lurans appeared unaffected, their skin shimmering slightly as it reflected the light. The Tellarans started to secrete their cooling fluid, but the process was visibly taxing on their bodies. Alex, however, showed little reaction to the heat. He stood calmly, beads of sweat forming on his skin, but his breathing remained steady. The alien students watched in surprise as the temperature continued to climb, and yet the human remained composed. After several minutes, the Tellarans began to falter, their cooling systems struggling to keep up. The Lurans, while still standing strong, showed signs of discomfort as the heat approached their threshold. Finally, Yidrock signaled the end of the test. The chamber doors opened, and the students filed out, some of them visibly exhausted. Alex wiped the sweat from his brow, but otherwise seemed unaffected. The Lurans, with their thick, heat-resistant skin, were confident as they entered the chamber. Their species had evolved on a planet with a harsh climate, and they were well equipped to handle extreme temperatures. The Tellarans, while less confident, relied on their advanced cooling mechanisms, tiny pores that secreted a cooling fluid when the temperature rose. As the heat in the chamber began to rise, the Lurans appeared unaffected, their skin shimmering slightly as it reflected the light. The Tellarans started to secrete their cooling fluid, but the process was visibly taxing on their bodies. Alex, however, showed little reaction to the heat. He stood calmly, beads of sweat forming on his skin, but his breathing remained steady. The alien students watched in surprise as the temperature continued to climb, and yet the human remained composed. After several minutes, the Tellarans began to falter, their cooling systems struggling to keep up. The Lurans, while still standing strong, showed signs of discomfort as the heat approached their threshold. Finally, Yidrock signaled the end of the test. The chamber doors opened, and the students filed out, some of them visibly exhausted. Alex wiped the sweat from his brow, but otherwise seemed unaffected. Humans have a remarkable ability to regulate their body temperature, Yidrock observed, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Your species is truly adaptable to a wide range of environments. Alex nodded. Back on Earth, we've developed ways to survive in deserts, jungles, and even Arctic tundras. We've learned to adapt to almost anything. The alien students exchanged glances, their respect for the human continuing to grow. The second environment, extreme cold. The next environment was the polar opposite of the first, a chamber designed to simulate the freezing temperatures of ice planets like Glaciara. The cold would test the students' ability to maintain their body heat and avoid the dangers of frostbite and hypothermia. The Xenians, whose homeworld was known for its icy climates, were confident as they entered the chamber. Their bodies were naturally insulated, and they could generate heat through metabolic processes. The Lurans, less suited to the cold, relied on advanced thermal suits to protect themselves from the freezing temperatures. Alex entered the chamber wearing only a standard uniform. The other students watched with a mix of concern and curiosity as the temperature began to drop. The walls of the chamber frosted over, and the air grew so cold that it crystallized each breath. The Xenians seemed at ease, their bodies glowing faintly as they generated internal heat. The Lurans, despite their thermal suits, showed signs of discomfort as the cold seeped through their protective layers. Alex shivered slightly, his breath visible in the frigid air, but he maintained his composure. His body began to tremble, a natural response to generate heat, yet he did not appear to be in distress. Minutes passed, and the cold grew more intense. The Lurans, despite their suits, signaled for the test to end as their bodies began to numb. The Xenians held out longer, but even they eventually reached their limit. Yidrock observed Alex closely, his 3 eyes narrowing in thought. The human had endured the cold for as long as the Xenians, and though he was clearly affected, he had not shown the same signs of distress as the others. Human Alex, your ability to withstand both extreme heat and cold is most impressive, Yidrock said as the chamber doors opened. It appears that your species has developed a remarkable capacity for survival in diverse environments. Alex smiled, his breath still visible in the cold air. We've had to. Earth throws a lot of challenges our way, and we had to find ways to survive all of them. The alien students, now more cautious in their assessments, began to realize that the human strength lay not just in physical resilience, but in adaptability, a trait that could prove even more valuable in the trials to come. The final environment, low gravity. The last test of the day was a simulation of low-gravity environments, like those found on small moons or asteroids. This test was designed to assess the student's ability to function and maintain control in conditions where normal physical parameters were drastically altered. The Tellerans, with their lightweight bodies and specialized limbs, were particularly suited to low-gravity environments. The Xenians, despite their bulk, had developed techniques to maneuver efficiently in such conditions. The Lurans, however, struggled with their heavy, muscular bodies that were not well adapted to low gravity. Alex, having grown up on Earth, a planet with a standard gravity, was an unknown variable. As the gravity in the chamber decreased, the students began to move more slowly, adjusting their movements to compensate for the change. The Tellerans moved with grace, using their limbs to propel themselves through the air with minimal effort. The Xenians, though less graceful, managed to adapt by shifting their weight carefully. The Lurans, however, found themselves floundering, their powerful muscles working against them in the low gravity. Alex took a moment to adjust, testing his movements as he floated slightly off the ground. He quickly found his balance, using controlled pushes and gentle movements to navigate the chamber. The test involved completing a series of tasks that required precision and control, assembling a small device, navigating an obstacle course, and retrieving objects from various points in the chamber. The Tellerans excelled, finishing the tasks with ease. The Xenians followed, their bulk slowing them down, but not hindering their progress. Alex, to the surprise of the other students, performed exceptionally well. He moved with surprising agility, completing the tasks with the same efficiency as the Tellerans. The Lurans, however, struggled, their movements slow and cumbersome. When the test ended, Yidrock reviewed the results with a look of satisfaction. "It seems that human adaptability once again proves to be a significant advantage," he remarked. "You have demonstrated an ability to quickly adjust to unfamiliar environments, a trait that will serve you well in your future studies." Alex nodded, grateful for the acknowledgement. "We've always had to adapt quickly back on Earth. It's just part of who we are." As the students exited the chamber, the atmosphere among them had changed once more. The respect for the human had deepened, and the initial skepticism had been replaced by a sense of curiosity and admiration. It was becoming clear that the humans were more than just another species. They were survivors, capable of enduring and thriving in conditions that others might find impossible. With the day's trials behind them, the students returned to their quarters, each lost in thought about what they had witnessed. For Alex, the tests had been challenging but manageable. For the others, they were a reminder that there was still much to learn about this new species that had joined their ranks. As the lights dimmed across the university, Professor Yidrock sat in his office, reviewing the data and pondering the implications of the day's events. The human had shown remarkable resilience, adaptability, and determination, traits that could change the dynamics of the entire university, perhaps even the galaxy. This was only the beginning of the journey, and Yidrock knew that the true test of the human's capabilities was yet to come. The next day would bring new challenges, deeper insights, and the possibility of even greater discoveries. As he prepared for the next lesson, Yidrock couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. The humans were proving to be a species unlike any other, and he was eager to see just how far they could go. The mental gauntlet. On the third day, the focus shifted from physical endurance to mental fortitude. The Galactic University was renowned for its rigorous cognitive challenges, designed to test not just intelligence, but also creativity, emotional resilience, and problem-solving under pressure. This day would be the true test of Alex's mind against the universe's best. The puzzle of perplexity. The first challenge was a mental puzzle known as the puzzle of perplexity. It was an ancient test, originating from a species long extinct, designed to be unsolvable by brute logic alone. The puzzle required thinking outside the boundaries of conventional reasoning, a test of creativity more than mere intellect. The alien students, each accustomed to solving complex problems in their unique ways, tackled the puzzle with intensity. The Xenians relied on their collective hive mind, sharing thoughts instantaneously to pool their cognitive resources. The Tellerans, with their multi-lobed brains, processed multiple solutions simultaneously, trying to converge on the correct answer. Alex, meanwhile, took a different approach. He examined the puzzle from various angles, trying to understand its underlying principles. Instead of rushing to solve it, he stepped back and considered the problem as a whole. His approach was more intuitive, relying on patterns, past experiences, and a willingness to try unconventional solutions. After several tense minutes, the Tellerans reached a solution, only to find it was incorrect. The Xenians, despite their collective mind, hit a dead end. Just as the tension in the room peaked, Alex calmly placed a final piece of the puzzle in place. The solution had come not from overthinking, but from embracing simplicity and lateral thinking. Professor Yidrog nodded in approval. The human mind is not bound by rigid structures. It is adaptable, fluid, and capable of leaps in logic that defy standard reasoning. A remarkable trait. The other students looked at Alex with a mixture of admiration and surprise. The human had once again proven to be more than they had anticipated. The Gauntlet of Emotions. The next challenge was the Gauntlet of Emotions, a test designed to push the students to their emotional limits. Each student was subjected to a series of intense emotional scenarios, ranging from profound joy to deep sorrow, overwhelming fear, and blinding rage. The goal was to maintain composure and make rational decisions despite the emotional turmoil. The Tellerans, with their controlled, logical minds, struggled with the test. Their species was not accustomed to the raw intensity of emotions, often finding themselves overwhelmed. The Xenians, despite their collective consciousness, faltered when emotions ran high as the individual experiences became too disjointed. Alex, however, navigated the gauntlet with a surprising level of emotional intelligence. He allowed himself to feel the emotions, but didn't let them control him. His ability to remain self-aware and regulate his responses impressed Yidrog. Humans possess a unique blend of emotional depth and control, Yidrog commented. It is not about suppressing emotions but understanding them, embracing them, and using them as a source of strength rather than a weakness. By the end of the test, Alex had once again outperformed many of his peers, demonstrating a level of emotional resilience that was both unexpected and inspiring. The final challenge, the labyrinth of the mind. The final challenge of the day was the most difficult, a virtual simulation known as the labyrinth of the mind. This test placed the students in a complex mental maze, filled with illusions, traps, and cognitive puzzles. The goal was not just to find the exit, but to understand the deeper meaning behind the maze's design. The Lurans, with their brute mental force, tried to smash through the illusions, only to find themselves going in circles. The Tellerans used their logical prowess to map the maze, but struggled with the constantly shifting paths. The Xenians tried to outthink the maze, but their collective mind became fragmented in the process. Alex, however, approached the labyrinth differently. He didn't just try to solve the maze, he tried to understand it. He observed the patterns, the subtle hints, and the emotional triggers embedded within the labyrinth. Instead of fighting against the maze, he flowed with it, allowing his instincts to guide him. In the end, Alex was the first to find the exit, emerging from the simulation with a look of quiet satisfaction. The other students were still trapped within the maze, struggling to comprehend its complexities. Yidrog was visibly impressed. The human mind, it seems, is not just powerful, but also perceptive. It sees beyond the surface, understanding the deeper layers of reality. This is a rare and valuable gift. As the day ended, it was clear that Alex had not only met, but exceeded the university's expectations. The alien students, who had initially viewed him with skepticism, now saw him as an equal, if not a superior, in many aspects. Alex's adaptability, emotional intelligence, and mental acuity had earned him a place of respect among his peers. But Alex knew that the real challenges were still ahead. The university had tested his body and mind, but the true test, the one that would define his place in the galaxy, was yet to come. The Unity Test. The following day brought the most anticipated and challenging trial, the unity test. This was not a test of individual strength or intellect, but of teamwork, communication, and the ability to forge alliances. The Galactic University valued cooperation above all else, understanding that in a galaxy teeming with diverse species, survival often depended on the ability to work together. The challenge of harmony. The Unity test was set on a simulated planet within the university's vast training grounds. The environment was harsh, dense jungles, treacherous mountains, and unpredictable weather patterns. The goal was simple. Each group of students had to navigate through the terrain, overcome obstacles, and reach a central point where they would complete a final task together. However, the challenge lay in the fact that each group was composed of students from different species, with different abilities, perspectives, and communication styles. The test was as much about navigating these interpersonal dynamics as it was about surviving the simulated environment. Alex was placed in a group with a Teleran named Ural, a Xenian named Frix, and a Luron named Jyla. Each of them had excelled in the previous tests, but had done so as individuals. Now, they needed to function as a unit. The first obstacle they encountered was a deep ravine that cut through their path. The Teleran, with his multi-lobed brain, quickly calculated the best route across, but it involved a complex series of jumps and climbs that the others struggled to follow. The Xenian, used to working within a collective mind, became frustrated when the others couldn't instantly understand her ideas. The Luron, strong and resilient, suggested brute force solutions that were too risky. Alex observed the tension growing within the group. He knew that their different approaches could be their downfall if they didn't find a way to communicate and trust each other. "We need to play to each other's strengths," Alex suggested, his voice calm but firm. "Ural, your calculations are valuable, but we need a plan that all of us can execute. Frix, you're great at seeing the bigger picture. Help us understand it better. Jyla, we'll need your strength, but let's use it where it matters most. We're in this together, so let's act like it." His words struck a chord. Slowly, the group began to listen to each other, combining their strengths rather than letting their differences divide them. With Ural's precise calculations, Frix's strategic oversight, Jyla's physical prowess, and Alex's coordination, they managed to cross the ravine safely. The test of trust. The next challenge was a dense jungle teeming with dangerous creatures and deceptive paths. Here, the team's ability to trust one another would be crucial. The jungle's dense canopy blocked out the sun, and the ground was a maze of tangled roots and shifting terrain. At one point, the group faced a predator, a massive reptilian creature with camouflage abilities. Panic set in as the creature stalked them, its presence almost impossible to detect until it was too late. The Teleran's logic dictated a hasty retreat, while the Xenians' collective instincts urged them to fight. The Luron was ready to charge, relying on her brute strength. Alex realized that none of these approaches would work on their own. They needed a strategy that utilized all their strengths. "We need to stay calm and think this through," he said. "Ural, find us a path that will give us an advantage. Frix, keep an eye on the creature's movements and alert us if it gets too close. Jyla, we'll need you to hold it off if it attacks, but only if we have no other choice." Working together, they moved cautiously through the jungle. Ural's pathfinding skills guided them around the creature's hunting grounds. Frix's keen observation kept them aware of its movements, and Jyla's readiness to defend them gave the group the confidence to move forward without panicking. When the creature finally attacked, it was Jyla who fended it off long enough for the others to reach safety. By the time they emerged from the jungle, the group had developed a deep sense of trust in one another. They had faced danger together and come out stronger, each member realizing that their differences were not a weakness but a strength. The final task: building unity. The final task required the group to solve a complex problem at the central point of the simulated planet. It was a massive structure that required all their combined skills to activate and complete. The problem was designed to be impossible for any one species to solve alone. symbolizing the importance of unity in the galaxy. The structure's mechanism involved multiple layers of puzzles, requiring precision, strategy, strength, and creativity. As the group worked together, they communicated more effectively, understanding when to step back and let another take the lead, when to offer support, and when to trust in each other's abilities. The Tellerans' calculations guided the group through the intricate machinery. The Xenians' strategic thinking helped them avoid traps. The Lurans' strength activated the necessary physical components, and Alex's coordination ensured that they moved in sync, each member playing their part at the right moment. When the mechanism finally clicked into place, a bright light filled the area, signaling their success. The group had not only completed the unity test, but had done so in record time. Professor Yidrock, watching from the control room, smiled with satisfaction. The unity test was designed to reflect the values of the Galactic University, that in a galaxy filled with diversity, cooperation was the key to survival and success. Alex and his group had embodied this principle, proving that even in the face of great challenges, unity could overcome any obstacle. As the simulation ended, the group stood together, tired but triumphant. They had started as individuals from different worlds, but through the unity test, they had become a team. A small but significant example of what could be achieved when species work together. For Alex, the unity test had been the most meaningful challenge yet. It wasn't just about proving human capabilities. It was about learning that true strength came from understanding and embracing differences, a lesson that would stay with him as he continued his journey at the Galactic University. But as the day ended and the students dispersed, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenges, the ones that would test everything he had learned, was still ahead. The unity test had been a powerful experience, but it was just the beginning of his story in a galaxy full of possibilities. The cultural exchange. Following the unity test, the Galactic University organized a cultural exchange, an event designed to deepen understanding among the diverse species at the school. The exchange was an opportunity for students to share their customs, traditions, and technologies, fostering a sense of community beyond the classroom. A festival of diversity. The exchange was set up like a grand festival, with each species presenting booths that showcased their unique aspects. There were demonstrations of traditional dances, displays of advanced technologies, and even samples of exotic foods from different planets. Alex and his human peers set up a booth that highlighted Earth's rich history, cultural diversity, and technological advancements. They displayed everything from ancient artifacts to cutting-edge inventions, drawing the interest of many curious students. As Alex wandered through the festival, he was fascinated by the various cultures on display. He marveled at the Xenian art, which used bioluminescence to create living pictures, and was intrigued by the Luran cuisine, which was as much a sensory experience as it was a meal. Forging friendships. The cultural exchange wasn't just about showcasing differences, it was about finding common ground. Alex spent time learning about the Tellerans' deep connection to their planet's ecosystems and the Xenians' collective decision-making processes. In return, he shared stories of human exploration, resilience, and adaptability. These exchanges fostered new friendships. Alex found himself particularly drawn to Uriel, Frix, and Jyla, his teammates from the Unity test. Despite their differences, they had formed a bond through shared experiences, and this event only strengthened that connection. The festival ended with a grand feast, where students from all species sat together, sharing food, stories, and laughter. It was a celebration of unity in diversity, a reminder that, despite the vast differences between them, they were all part of the same galaxy. The survival challenge. After the cultural exchange, the students were faced with the most grueling test yet, the survival challenge. This was an extended simulation designed to push them to their limits, testing not only their physical endurance, but also their mental fortitude and problem-solving skills. Thrown into the wild. The simulation took place on a hostile, uncharted planet. The students were dropped into different locations with minimal supplies and were tasked with surviving for several weeks. They had to find food and water, build shelters, and defend themselves against the planet's dangerous wildlife and unpredictable weather. Alex, along with his team, quickly realized that survival would require more than just strength and intelligence. It would require adaptability and cooperation. Each member of the team took on roles that suited their strengths. Ruel used his analytical mind to scout for resources, Fricks planned their daily activities to conserve energy, Shyla handled physical tasks, and Alex coordinated their efforts, ensuring that everyone's needs were met. Facing the unknown. The planet presented many challenges, from venomous creatures that prowled at night to sudden storms that threatened to destroy their shelter. The team faced each obstacle with determination, using their combined skills to overcome every hurdle. There were moments of tension, disagreements over strategy, frustrations from exhaustion, but through it all, they learned to trust one another more deeply. The survival challenge wasn't just a test of endurance, it was a test of their ability to function as a cohesive unit under extreme stress. As the weeks passed, the team grew stronger, not just physically but also as a group. They learned to anticipate each other's needs, to communicate more effectively, and to support one another through the toughest moments. When the challenge finally ended, they were exhausted but proud. They had survived, not as individuals, but as a team. The experience had forged them into a tight-knit group, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The final trial. The culmination of their training at the Galactic University was the final trial, a mission designed to simulate a real-world scenario that required everything they had learned. This was not just an academic exercise, it was a test that would determine their readiness to serve in the galaxy. A mission of diplomacy. The final trial involved a mission to a disputed planet, where a delicate peace negotiation was underway between two rival species. The students were tasked with ensuring the safety of the delegates and helping to mediate the negotiations. The situation was tense, with both sides deeply distrustful of one another. The mission required careful diplomacy, quick thinking, and the ability to navigate a complex web of political and cultural differences. Alex and his team were assigned to protect one of the delegations. As they worked to ensure the safety of the delegates, they also had to manage the tensions within the group, using everything they had learned about communication and unity. A test of character. The mission didn't go smoothly. There were attempts to sabotage the peace talks, and at one point, the situation nearly escalated into violence. But through careful negotiation and a display of resilience, the team managed to prevent disaster. In the end, the peace talks were successful, and the rival species agreed to a truce. The team's efforts were recognized as a key factor in the success of the mission, and they were commended for their bravery and ingenuity. The final trial had tested them in ways they hadn't expected. It wasn't just about strength or intelligence, it was about character, about standing up for what was right, even in the face of great challenges. Conclusion. A new beginning. With the final trial complete, Alex and his friends graduated from the Galactic University, ready to take on new roles in the galaxy. They had grown from inexperienced students into capable leaders, each one shaped by the experiences and lessons they had learned. As they prepared to go their separate ways, they knew that their paths would cross again. The bonds they had formed were too strong to be broken by distance or time. They had become more than just classmates. They had become a family, united by their shared journey. For Alex, the journey was just beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of opportunities and challenges, but he was ready for whatever came next, armed with the knowledge, skills, and friendships he had gained at the Galactic University. As he looked up at the stars, Alex felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of possibilities. And with his friends by his side, he knew he could face whatever the galaxy had in store.